Welcome to the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner Prepcast, where we guide you through everything you need to know for your certification exam. Whether you're just starting or looking to refine your knowledge, this course will set you up for success. Brought to you by baremetalcyber.com. Let's get started. When you provision compute on AWS, one of the biggest decisions is how you purchase capacity. The service itself may be the same, an EC2 instance, for example, but the way you pay for it has huge implications for flexibility and cost. AWS gives you three primary models: on-demand, reserved instances, and spot instances. Each reflects a different philosophy. On-demand prioritizes flexibility, reserved prioritizes long-term commitment with discounts, and spot prioritizes cost savings by using spare capacity, with the caveat of interruptions. Understanding these models is essential not only for the exam, but also for practical cloud economics. Each has trade-offs, and the exam will test your ability to map workloads to the model that makes sense for their stability and tolerance for risk. On-demand is the most straightforward option. You pay for what you use with no long-term commitment. This model is perfect for workloads that are unpredictable, experimental, or short-lived. For example, if you're testing a new feature in development or scaling up temporarily for a marketing campaign, on-demand ensures that you can spin up resources and spin them down without penalty. The trade-off is that it's the most expensive on a per-hour or per-second basis compared to alternatives. For the exam, remember that if the scenario emphasizes unpredictable or short-term, on-demand is almost always the right fit. It's the safe choice when you don't yet know what your steady state looks like. Reserved instances, or RIs, shift the model toward predictability. Standard RIs provide the largest discount, sometimes up to 70%, but lock you into specific instance families and regions. This is best for steady, predictable workloads, such as production databases or long-running enterprise applications. Convertible RIs offer less of a discount, but allow you to switch families, operating systems, or tenancies, providing flexibility for changing needs. The exam often cues these distinctions with terms like steady state or flexibility to change. Remember, standard equals maximum savings but rigidity. Convertible equals adaptability with moderate savings. This distinction is central to choosing correctly in scenario-based questions. Reserved instances also come in regional and zonal forms. A regional RI applies to any availability zone within a region, offering flexibility in deployment while still securing discounts. A zonal RI, on the other hand, is tied to a specific availability zone and comes with a capacity reservation, ensuring that you will have resources available even during peak demand. The trade-off is clear. Regional RIs give flexibility across zones, while zonal RIs guarantee capacity. On the exam, cues like need capacity assurance or specific AZ requirement point toward zonal RIs, while general region usage signals regional. This nuance helps clarify what commitment really buys you. Savings plans provide a newer, more flexible alternative to reserved instances. Instead of committing to specific instance families, you commit to $1 per hour usage across compute services like EC2, Fargate, or Lambda. This allows you to diversify workloads without losing discounts. Think of it as a spend commitment rather than a resource commitment. For the exam, when a scenario emphasizes mixed compute services or need flexibility across types, savings plans is the better answer than RIs. They are conceptually similar, but the key difference is the scope of commitment. RIs commit to instances, savings plans commit to spend. Spot instances represent the high-risk, high-reward end of the spectrum. They allow you to purchase spare AWS capacity at steep discounts, sometimes up to 90% off, but with the condition that AWS can reclaim them with little notice. Spot instances are perfect for workloads that are fault-tolerant, such as batch processing, rendering, or data analysis that can resume if interrupted. The exam cue is interruption-tolerant workload. Remember that Spot is never the right answer for production systems requiring guaranteed uptime. It is best for jobs where cost savings outweigh the risk of losing capacity at unpredictable times. A key detail of Spot usage is the 2-minute interruption notice. When AWS needs the capacity back, you receive an advisory, giving you a brief window to checkpoint progress, save state, or gracefully shut down. The exam may highlight this explicitly with wording like 2-minute warning before termination. Recognizing this feature ensures you think about fault-tolerant design applications must handle interruptions without data loss or corruption. This 2-minute signal underscores that Spot instances are powerful tools but demand resilience in workload design. Diversifying Spot usage across multiple instance pools increases resilience. Instead of relying on one specific instance type in one availability zone, you can configure autoscaling groups to draw from multiple pools. This reduces the likelihood that all your Spot capacity will disappear at once. The exam might phrase this as, quote, maximize availability of Spot instances. The correct answer is diversification. It's the same principle as diversifying investments. Spreading across options reduces risk. This design pattern demonstrates AWS's guidance that Spot should be used carefully, with architectural safeguards against its inherent volatility. Capacity reservations provide another angle, ensuring that specific instance types will be available when you need them, without the long-term commitment of an RI. They are useful in regulated environments or critical applications where downtime is unacceptable, but where long-term commitments aren't appropriate. The exam cue here is guarantee capacity without long-term contract. This option offers assurance without the financial optimization of RIs, serving as a middle ground between flexibility and certainty. It illustrates AWS's intent to cover every cost-risk spectrum point. Dedicated instances and dedicated hosts serve specialized compliance and licensing needs. Dedicated instances run on hardware that is not shared with other customers, while dedicated hosts give visibility into the physical sockets and cores for licensing purposes. Exam cues often include compliance requirement or bring your own license. These are less about cost optimization and more about meeting regulatory or legal obligations. Understanding this distinction is important. Dedicated options are rarely the cheapest or most flexible, but they are essential when external requirements dictate their use. Matching workload fit is the unifying theme. Steady-state, always-on systems align with reserved instances or savings plans. Bursty, unpredictable workloads belong with on-demand. Fault-tolerant, interruption-ready jobs thrive on Spot. Compliance-heavy or licensing-constrained workloads may require dedicated options. On the exam, the key is to spot the descriptive words: predictable, unpredictable, fault-tolerant, or compliance. These are the cues pointing to the right purchasing model. By aligning the workload's nature with the pricing model's strengths, you ensure both cost efficiency and reliability. Monitoring utilization of commitments is essential in practice and may appear on the exam. Buying reserved instances or savings plans is only valuable if they are fully used. Organizations often tag commitments to track ownership, ensuring that discounts align with the workloads they were purchased for. AWS provides reports and dashboards to monitor RI and savings plan utilization. Exam questions may phrase this as, ensure full benefit from commitments. The correct approach is monitoring utilization, tagging owners, and aligning commitments to actual workloads. This is the governance side of cost optimization. Governance in general plays a large role here. Owners must be assigned for commitments, tagging must be applied consistently, and reporting must surface savings and utilization. This creates accountability and prevents unused commitments from wasting money. On the exam, the cues are often multi-team environment or track who benefits from savings. The answer is governance practices, not just technical provisioning. AWS sees cost management as a team sport. Without governance, discounts can easily turn into sunk costs. Finally, exam strategy comes down to mapping predictability and tolerance to the right option. If you see Always On, choose Reserved or Savings Plans. If you see Unpredictable, choose On Demand. If you see Tolerates Interruption, choose Spot. If you see Compliance, consider Dedicated. Distractors will often sound plausible, but the right answer is always the one aligned to the workload's steadiness and risk tolerance. This consistent reasoning pattern ensures you cut through noise and land on the correct choice every time. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. A common strategy with AWS purchasing options is to begin with on-demand and only commit once workloads prove stable. This allows you to gather usage data without locking into long-term costs prematurely. For example, a new web application might begin with on-demand EC2 instances while traffic patterns are uncertain. Once usage stabilizes, reserved instances or savings plans can be applied to reduce costs. The exam often signals this progression with language like new workload with unknown demand or optimize after stabilization. The safe path is to start flexible, then optimize once you understand steady-state needs. This approach reduces financial risk while still achieving eventual savings. When establishing a baseline of capacity, reserved instances or savings plans are the best options. They cover predictable workloads, such as a production database or an application that runs 24/7. Bursty workloads that exceed the baseline can remain on-demand, ensuring flexibility during peaks without overcommitting. This mix balances cost savings and adaptability. For exam purposes, watch for scenarios describing steady baseline with unpredictable peaks. The answer is usually to commit the baseline and leave the variable portion flexible. This is AWS's portfolio strategy in action. Use each model for the slice of workload it fits best. Spot instances add yet another layer for stateless or fault-tolerant workloads. By introducing Spot into the mix, organizations can achieve enormous cost savings for non-critical tiers. Stateless web front ends, background processing jobs, or analytics pipelines are perfect candidates. The exam cue is resilient to interruptions. Spot capacity should be paired with auto-scaling and multiple instance pools to absorb disruptions. On the exam, if you see stateless or interruption-tolerant, Spot is the answer. In practice, Spot shines when it's an addition to, not a replacement for, baseline coverage with reserved or on-demand. Handling interruptions is essential when using Spot. AWS provides a 2-minute warning before instances are reclaimed, giving you a chance to checkpoint progress or push tasks into a queue. SQS or DynamoDB streams often serve as buffers in these designs, ensuring no work is lost. The exam may phrase this as, ensure fault tolerance when Spot is interrupted. The best answer involves strategies like checkpointing, queues, or distributing across multiple pools. Spot is powerful, but only when applications are architected with its impermanence in mind. This design discipline is what separates theoretical savings from real-world success. Reserved instances also have modification and exchange paths, particularly with convertible RIs. Convertible RIs allow you to adjust instance families, operating systems, or tenancies over time, trading some discount for adaptability. Standard RIs cannot be modified in this way, though they can sometimes be sold on the RI marketplace. The exam cues often emphasize flexibility to change instance types or ability to switch OS. The correct answer is convertible RIs. This flexibility is especially important in evolving environments where workload requirements may shift before the end of a multi-year commitment. Coverage math is another key concept. Savings plans and RIs are based on dollar-per-hour commitments, and the value lies in aligning those commitments with actual usage. If you undercommit, you miss savings. If you overcommit, you pay for unused capacity. The exam might phrase this as, ensure commitments align with workload usage. The correct response is to analyze workloads and size commitments accordingly. This math reflects the broader principle that AWS cost optimization is not guesswork but data-driven, guided by reports and metrics. Capacity considerations sometimes push you toward zonal reserved instances or explicit capacity reservations. A zonal RI locks in both price and availability within a specific availability zone, ensuring resources are there when you need them. Standalone capacity reservations achieve the same assurance without long-term discounts. Exam questions often use phrasing like, guarantee capacity in a specific AZ. The answer is a zonal RI, or reservation. This is especially relevant in high-demand regions or industries where uptime requirements are non-negotiable. Capacity is not just about cost. It is about ensuring resources exist when you need them most. Tagging commitments to track ownership and savings is a governance best practice. By tagging reserved instances, savings plans, or capacity reservations, organizations can tie cost benefits back to specific teams or workloads. This prevents orphaned savings where nobody takes responsibility for underutilization. On the exam, cues like track ownership of commitments or allocate savings across teams point toward tagging. This reflects a broader AWS principle. Tagging is not only about resources, but also about financial accountability and governance. Forecasting is another dimension of governance. Cost Explorer allows you to visualize past usage trends, while Budgets lets you set alerts on future spending thresholds. Together, they provide the foresight to adjust commitments or catch overspending early. On the exam, if the question asks about forecasting usage trends or alerting on overspend, Cost Explorer and Budgets are the correct answers. These tools highlight the proactive side of cloud finance. Don't just react to costs. Anticipate them and adjust in advance. This is part of the discipline known as FinOps. Common pitfalls in compute purchasing include relying on a single spot pool, which increases interruption risk, and buying reserved instances that go idle due to workload changes. Both represent wasted opportunities. The exam often uses these pitfalls as distractors answers that sound plausible but hide inefficiency. The correct approach involves diversification and monitoring utilization. Spot should be spread across multiple pools, and reserved instances should be monitored for alignment with usage. This ensures commitments remain assets rather than liabilities. Some workloads may require dedicated instances or dedicated hosts, especially when compliance or licensing comes into play. For example, bring your own licensed software may require visibility into physical sockets or cores, something only dedicated hosts provide. Exam cues like compliance requirement or third-party licensing restrictions signal dedicated options. These models are not about cost efficiency. They are about meeting external constraints. On the exam, recognize when compliance trumps cost savings. AWS provides these options to ensure every workload, no matter how constrained, can run in the cloud. The exam consistently tests the ability to translate risk and steadiness into the correct purchasing option. If a workload is steady, reserved or savings plans are best. If it is unpredictable, on-demand wins. If it is fault-tolerant, spot is the answer. If it is compliance-heavy, dedicated options apply. Distractors often tempt you with cheaper or more flexible models that don't fit the risk profile. The key is alignment. Choose the model that meets the workload's predictability and tolerance. This logical chain requirement to option is what exam success is built on. Documentation is another practical governance tool. Many organizations maintain a portfolio playbook that records purchasing strategies, decision rules, and guardrails. This ensures that teams don't reinvent the wheel each time they provision resources. It also standardizes decisions, making commitments easier to monitor and savings easier to track. On the exam, wording like establish guardrails for purchasing models points toward documentation and portfolio governance. It reflects AWS's broader principle. Scale requires not just tools, but also processes. Finally, continuous tuning ensures that purchasing strategies evolve as workloads change. AWS usage is rarely static. Applications grow, shrink, or shift services. What was efficient last year may be wasteful today. Continuous tuning means monitoring workloads, adjusting commitments, and refining spot strategies regularly. The exam may signal this with optimize as patterns evolve. The right answer is to embrace an iterative approach. Just as architecture evolves with demand, so too must cost optimization evolve with usage. This adaptability is the hallmark of a mature cloud practice. From an exam perspective, the ultimate lesson is to blend options, commit what's steady, keep flexibility where uncertainty exists, and use spot where interruption is safe. This balanced portfolio approach maximizes savings while protecting performance and reliability. It acknowledges that no single model fits every workload, and that cost optimization is about thoughtful matching, not blanket rules. If you internalize this pattern, you will not only excel on the exam, but also design cloud strategies that are both efficient and resilient. That concludes today's episode of the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner Prepcast. Be sure to tune in for the next episode and visit us online at baremetalcyber.com or cyberauthor.me for more resources, including news, mailing lists, YouTube videos, podcasts, and much more.